Śrīmad Bhāgavatam of Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, with translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. 8th Canto, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations, Chapter 3, Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. And in this video, I will be reading the texts and purports for texts 1 through 5. And in the table of contents, this section is entitled Gajendra Remembers a Mantra from His Previous Life. Text 1. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued. Thereafter, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradyumna, and which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. Purport. Such remembrance is described in Bhagavad Gita 6, 43 through 44. Tatra tang buddhi sangjogam labhate purva dehikam jata te cha tato bhuyaha sang siddho kuru nandana purva bhyasana ten naiva hriyate hya vasho pi saha. In these verses, it is assured that even if a person engaged in devotional service falls down, he is not degraded, but is placed in a position in which he will, in due course of time, remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained later, Gajendra was formerly King Indradyumna, and somehow or other in his next life he became King of the Elephants. Now, Gajendra was in danger, and although he was in a body other than that of a human being, he remembered the stotra he had chanted in his previous life. Jatate cha tato bhuyaha sang siddho kurunandana. To enable one to achieve perfection, Krishna gives one the chance to remember him again. This is proved here, for although the king of the elephants, Gajendra, was put in danger, this was a chance for him to remember his previous devotional activities so that he could immediately be rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is imperative, therefore, that all devotees in Krishna consciousness practice chanting some mantra. Certainly one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the Maha Mantra, or Great Mantra. And also one should practice chanting Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu, or the Nrsimha Stotra. Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho Jato Jato Yamitato Nrsimha. Every devotee should practice in order to chant some mantra perfectly, so that even though he may be imperfect in spiritual consciousness in this life, in his next life he will not forget Krishna consciousness, even if he becomes an animal. Of course, a devotee should try to perfect his Krishna consciousness in this life, for simply by understanding Krishna and his instructions after giving up this body, one can return home back to Godhead. Even if there is some fall down, practice of Krishna consciousness never goes in vain. For example, Ajamil, in his boyhood, practiced chanting the name of Narayana under the direction of his father, but later in his youth he fell down and became a drunkard, woman hunter, rogue, and thief. Nonetheless, because of chanting the name of Narayana for the purpose of calling his son, whom he had named Narayana, he became advanced, even though he was involved in sinful activities. Therefore, we should not forget the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra under any circumstances. It will help us in the greatest danger, as we find in the life of Gajendra. Text 2. The king of the elephants, Gajendra, said, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Person, Vasudeva. Ong Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Because of him, this material body acts due to the presence of spirit, and he is therefore the root cause of everyone. He is worshipable for such exalted persons as Brahma and Shiva, and he has entered the heart of every living being. Let me meditate upon him. Purport. In this verse, the words etachchid atmakam are very important. The material body certainly consists only of material elements. But when one awakens to Krishna conscious understanding, the body is no longer material but spiritual. The material body is meant for sense enjoyment, whereas the spiritual body engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee who engages in the service of the Supreme Lord and who constantly thinks of him should never be considered to have a material body. It is therefore enjoined, Guru Shu Nara Matihi. One should stop thinking of the spiritual master as an ordinary human being with a material body. Archye Vishno Shiladihi. Everyone knows that the deity in the temple is made of stone, but to think that the deity is merely stone is an offense. Similarly, to think that the body of the spiritual master consists of material ingredients is offensive. Atheists think that devotees foolishly worship a stone statue as God and an ordinary man as the Guru. The fact is, however, that by the grace of Krishna's omnipotence, the so-called stone statue of the deity is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the body of the spiritual master is directly spiritual. A pure devotee who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service should be understood to be situated on the transcendental platform. Sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Let us therefore offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy so-called material things also become spiritual when they are engaged in spiritual activity. Onkar, pranava, is the symbolic sound representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om tat sad iti nirdesho brahmanas trividha smritaha. The three words Om tat sat immediately invoke the Supreme Person. Therefore, Krishna says that he is Omkar in all the Vedic mantras, pranavaha sarva vedeshu. The Vedic mantras are pronounced beginning with Omkar to indicate immediately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, for example, begins with the words Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is no difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, and Omkar, Pranava. We should be careful to understand that Omkar does not indicate anything nirakara or formless. Indeed, this verse immediately says, Om Namo Bhagavate. Bhagavan is a person. Thus, Omkar is the representation of the Supreme Person. Omkar is not meant to be impersonal, as the Mayavadi philosophers consider it to be. This is distinctly expressed here by the word Purushaya. The supreme truth addressed by Omkar is Purusha, the Supreme Person. He is not impersonal. Unless he is a person, how can he control the great stalwart controllers of this universe? Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are the supreme controllers of this universe. But Lord Vishnu is offered obeisances even by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Therefore, this verse uses the word Parashaya, which indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by exalted demigods. Parashaya means Parameshvara. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are Ishvaras, great controllers, but Lord Vishnu is Parameshvara, the supreme controller. Text 3. The Supreme Godhead is the supreme platform on which everything rests, the ingredient by which everything has been produced, and the person who has created and is the only cause of this cosmic manifestation. Nonetheless, he is different from the cause and the result. I surrender unto him the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is self-sufficient in everything. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 9.4, the Lord says, Maya tatam idang sarvang jagad avyakta murtina. Quote, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but everything rests upon my energy, just as an earthen pot rests on the earth. Unquote. The place where an earthen pot rests is also earth. Then again, the earthen pot is manufactured by a potter whose body is a product of earth. The potter's wheel with which the pot is made is an expansion of earth, and the ingredients from which the potter made are also earth. As confirmed in the Shruti mantra, Jato va imani bhutani jayante, jena jatani jivanti yat prayantya vishanti. The original cause of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and after being annihilated, everything enters into him. Prakriting janti mam ikang. Thus, the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramchandra or Lord Krishna, is the original cause of everything. Ishvaraha paramaha Krishnaha satchid ananda vigraha anadir adir govindaha sarva karana karanam. Quote, Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Controller. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Unquote. Brahma Samhita 5.1. The Lord is the cause for everything, but there is no cause for him. Sarvang kalvedang Brahma mat stani sarvabhutani na chahang te shwava stitaha. Although he is everything, his personality is different from the cosmic manifestation. Text 4. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his own energy, keeps this cosmic manifestation visible and again sometimes renders it invisible. He is both the supreme cause and the supreme result, the observer and the witness in all circumstances. Thus, he is transcendental to everything. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead give me protection. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has multipotencies. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Sruyate. Therefore, as soon as he likes, he uses one of his potencies, and by that expansion he creates this cosmic manifestation. Again, when the cosmic manifestation is annihilated, it rests in him. Nonetheless, he is infallibly the supreme observer. Under any circumstances, the Supreme Lord is changeless. He is simply a witness and is aloof from all creation and annihilation. Text 5. Translation. In due course of time, when all the causative and effective manifestations of the universe, including the planets and their directors and maintainers, are annihilated, there is a situation of dense darkness. Above this darkness, however, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I take shelter of his lotus feet. Purport. From the Vedic mantras, we understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is above everything. He is supreme, above all the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. He is the supreme controller. When everything disappears by the influence of his energy, the cosmic situation is one of dense darkness. The Supreme Lord, however, is the sunshine, as confirmed in the Vedic mantras. Aditya Varnang Tamasaha Parastat. In our daily experience, when we on earth are in the darkness of night, the sun is always luminous somewhere in the sky. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Sun, always remains luminous, even when the entire cosmic manifestation is annihilated in due course of time.